Everyone knows that since Endgame, Marvel's quality has declined drastically. So how did they do this past year? They released 3 movies in total, all unique in their own way. So let's take a look at each of them and determine if Marvel has made a comeback or not.
I haven't seen the Falcon. Oh no, there isn't one. Sorry.
Is switching roles really the only way Anthony Mackie could get his own movie? I think that this movie is a bit of a mess. Supposedly this movie was ready in like 2024 or something, but wasn't received very well in early screenings and they tried their best to fix it. I think this movie is fine enough, with some good ideas, but I think it has too many things that it tries to shove into just an under 2-hour movie. You have some good stuff like Sam trying to step into his own as Captain America, trying to reassemble the Avengers, and Isaiah's plotline, which was especially well done as Sam tries to prove he was being controlled. The film also feels a lot more interconnected with the broader Marvel universe, referencing my 2 favourite MCU movies, The Incredible Hulk and Eternals.
Are you serious?
It also had a good tense tone from the start that always made it feel like something was off, which supported the political thriller style that they were going for. Although, it wasn't done nearly as well as the other Captain America movies. But we also have a lot of other plot lines, like the leader being behind the plot to kill Ross and giving him the gamma radiation pills, who was an overall solid, intimidating presence, but we learn his backstory a bit late and he's not all that compelling. Speaking of gamma radiation, did you know that Red Hulk was in this film? Oh, you did? What do you mean he was on every poster for this movie? Well, did you know that he had an outstanding 10 minutes of screen time? He was just seriously underutilized. I expected him to come in the 3rd act, but I also get the disappointment that the main attraction of this film barely showed up. There's also the Celestials' involvement, with the world's battle for adamantium, which isn't all that interesting. But I think that you can clearly see that this movie has so many plot lines in a small amount of time, which makes the film feel really overstuffed. This film is just a bit of a mess, with some good ideas, which make it an overall forgettable 6 out of 10 movie. Just quickly, if you're enjoying my content, please consider subscribing. This channel is still new and I'd appreciate your support. But anyways, let's continue.
You just said you were fulfilled.
Lena, I was lying. Look around you. I'm miserable.
Oh my goodness, this movie is so good. This is the best movie I've seen this year. Well, second best. A Minecraft movie still exists, but that's a story for another video. It's clear that Marvel had a clear vision for this movie, and it clearly paid off. It's a great movie about former Marvel villains or anti-heroes bonding through their trauma and becoming a support system for each other. And they decide to become heroes in the end because Bucky is so excellently woven through the story to act as a mentor who shows them that the best way to overcome their guilt is by trying to make things right. Yelena also works so well as the lead, being so naturally charismatic and likable.
Hi.
And her struggle with a lack of purpose, leading her to find it in her new team, was well done. And the scene where she vents to Alexei about all the guilt she has from her past, clearly forgetting who she is, only to be reminded by Alexei, was expertly acted out. But you can't forget Bob, a character whose emotional journey you get so engaged in as he navigates his own trauma and lack of purpose, which are manipulated by getting him to join Project Sentry. And seeing the team embrace him, try to save him, and support him by stopping him from beating himself up was great. I also love that they avoided the expected grand final battle by opting for a surrealist sequence that was much more story relevant and effective than fighting Bob and constantly saying, "Bob, snap out of it, this isn't you!" And even the side characters are done exceptionally within this movie, with Alexei being the funniest character in the movie and Valentina being a really fun and charismatic antagonist when she could have otherwise been pretty boring. I have very few negatives for this movie. Obviously, with the nature of a team-up movie, some are going to get sidelined, and Ghost definitely felt sidelined hard, which is unfortunate considering that she has real potential. But not more sidelined than Taskmaster. Marvel really went, "You guys really hate that Black Widow Taskmaster reveal, huh?" Well, problem solved. I wasn't overly keen to see her return, but I'm definitely mixed on whether this was a good decision, seeing as I didn't expect to like Alexei or Walker much either. But it definitely showed this movie wasn't afraid to show that there are real consequences. A small issue that made me laugh each time was when the characters would be yelling at each other on the street and the background actors would just walk past and not even look at them. Like, it's so clear at that point that the actors are just in front of a green screen. But overall, this movie has direction, great characters, and impressive emotional depth, making it a 9 out of 10.
It's Clobber time!
This movie is fantastic.
Say that again?
Being in another universe, this movie is able to create its own style with a retro-futuristic New York, which really makes it unique. And I like how it just skips the origin story and just introduces us to the world really well. And this is supported by a great score which is extremely memorable, where most Marvel movies often fail. But the heart of this movie lies in the
Family.
where these four iconic characters are finally all represented well on the big screen. The story to me is a lot about complex moral and ethical decisions which make the characters compelling as they try to conclude what's right, and often disagree on this. Reed's decision to bring them all on a space mission designed by him was the reason they are all forever changed, and something that he feels guilty about and grapples with for the most of the movie. And he also fears that that mission has negatively influenced his and Sue's baby. And this fear is only heightened when Galactus arrives and asks for their baby in exchange for leaving Earth alone, forcing a moral dilemma on the team. But ultimately, they decide to defend their baby and find another way to protect their world and must convince the world that they are making the right decision. And the film is smart enough to know that these characters can't kill Galactus, so instead they teleport him into deep space where he can no longer threaten any planets. It's just a really solid story with interesting characters and real stakes to it, showing that a film adaptation of these characters can work. However, I think at some points the runtime does hinder this film. I like that its under 2-hour runtime makes sure that everything included is essential to the plot, but I think even 10 or 15 more minutes could have just fleshed out more underutilized characters like Johnny and Ben, and allowed us to flesh out the world just a little bit more. I don't think First Steps is quite as good as Thunderbolts, whose themes were just more compelling to me, but it's another solid return to form for Marvel and an 8 out of 10 movie. So 2 out of 3 of Marvel's 2025 films were great. Are they back? I think we're definitely trending in the right direction. Their films have unique identities and all feel like they're building towards the grand climax of Doomsday and Secret Wars. But I think in terms of Marvel's reputation, they have made a comeback. But I think to fully return to form, they'll need to prove themselves with their films over the next 2 years. Because unfortunately, 2 great films don't outweigh the 7 other disappointing ones. Not to mention the abundance of TV shows on Disney Plus which have amounted to nothing so far. As for their upcoming movies, I've little doubt that Spider-Man Brand New Day will be good as long as they ground Spider-Man again and don't continue down the multiverse route. But Doomsday and Secret Wars worry me with their sheer amount of characters and whether the lack of cohesiveness between phases 4 and 5 and the declining quality even compel the casual fanbase to care as much as they did about Infinity War and Endgame. But Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four give me hope that the future of Marvel is bright. So in the end, I think audiences are starting to respect Marvel more again, and if we get more movies like Thunderbolts and First Steps, I think Marvel could enter another prime. Thank you all for watching, and tell me what you think below. Is Marvel finally back?